All right, today's video sponsored by Flexcut. Just wanted to be upfront. That said, I'd throw them under the bus in a second if I didn't like their products. And in this video, I wanted to give a demonstration with this new Premium Classics offering that Flexcut has. That said, I'm going to talk about what I like, what I dislike, and who this product is for, if anyone. So first things first, this is a 4-piece carving set. They also offer the 3-piece version of the Premium Classics. We'll get into that in a minute, but the main thing I wanted to get at with this is to who this is for, like, and what it's like. Does it measure up to the quality of the other tools? And so I wanted to say, first of all, I've spent some time playing with these tools, an hour or two, and my conclusion is that, you know, it's the same quality as the kind of the steel that you'd get in any of their blades. It's good quality steel. Of course, you know, in the realm of carving, you know, Flexcut is one of the better of the affordable options. Of course, you could spend more money, you could get even higher quality handmade stuff, you can get really, really high-end steels. But for the money, I truly believe, you know, you're not going to get much better than Flexcut. And the most important thing about them, to me, is that they come very sharp. So you, out of the box, you get an experience for a sharp tool. And I think that's really important for people that are starting out to know what sharp feels like, so they know what they're trying to get to when they inevitably have to sharpen their tools. I'm going to run through these really quickly and talk about what they are and what you might use them for. This is the premium cutting knife. Okay, this is the larger of the knives here, and it's got like a longer backside to it, which allows for a little bit more rigidity. It cuts well through the wood. It's kind of like, to me in my mind, a knife that you'd use for kind of cutting bulk material. Maybe if you were carving a hiking stick, say you debark with this thing, you know, because it's got a nice rigid form. You could drive it through the material easily. That said, this form factor is not my ideal form factor. I actually prefer a little bit of a narrower blade. And really what that goes to with this whole review is the fact that, you know, in carving, your taste is your taste, and the types of things that work best for you and your style of carving are best determined by experience with each of the available options. So that's, I think, what a set like this offers. You know, different types of tools with different forms that you can get at a bit of a discount because you're paying a little less per tool when you buy a group of tools than you would buying the individual tools, and you kind of get a sense of what each tool is like. So who this is for, I'm getting distracted, I know, from each tool, but who this is for someone who has a knife or two, they want to expand, they want to try different things, they don't maybe want to spend as much as they might otherwise spend on like the Pro line or the higher end tool. So that said, these are the kind of like baseline tool cutting heads, like the actual knives. Sorry, I'm using power tool terms. Knives, cutting edge knives with a wooden handle. So the wooden handle is cherry, and cherry is a much nicer material than you'd see in most of the base model handles. And really you're spending about a couple of dollars per knife extra to get this handle. And that's what the Premium Classics line is about, from what I understand. It's the base model kind of cutting edge that we know, and a higher end handle, right? So if you're like me and you don't particularly like the ergonomics of the lower end Flexcut handles, they have that little curve. In fact, I've made a video about getting rid of the curve on those types of knives. They're more directional. Then this is the thing that you might want to upgrade to if you're into the Flexcut realm. You want to get something that's good and affordable. So yeah, this is the detail knife. Now they call it a detail knife, but as far as I'm concerned, it's the most useful blade. I like this profile because the narrow tip allows me to get into tight areas, whereas that 1.25" length is more than enough for me to do roughing out. I don't need anything much longer than that. 1.5", so on and so forth, isn't necessary for me. So you'll see me using a lot of detail knives in my work from day to day, especially when I'm whittling. That said, they also have this knife, which is called a Pelican knife, and it looks to be about 1.5", a little longer. And this one surprised me because it has this relief in the back, which you wouldn't really think makes that much of an impact on the experience of cutting. At first I just thought it was a silly design feature, but it really allows you to scoop in the wood, and it feels like it moves through the wood a little more easily because there's less metal to push through the wood. It just makes sense. It's a thinner blade in terms of the overall width. So I do like that, and I find that it's really nice to kind of move through the wood. It scoops maybe better than any knife I've used in terms of scoopability. If we come up with a rating category, this is like a 9 out of 10 scoopability. And if you know anything about my carving style, you know that I like to scoop a lot. So this would be really useful. I could do a whole carving with this blade and be tickled pink. Of course, some people aren't as familiar with this curved blade, and some people have a harder time with stop cuts. Since you're not getting a straight stop cut, you're getting kind of like a little bit more depth in the center as the edges when you go straight into the wood like so. And that can present a little bit of a difficulty for those who don't use maybe as much of a slicing technique, or they're really exact with their cuts. They might not appreciate that as much. For me, I do a lot of using the tip and getting in tight areas with maybe more of a skew type use of the blade. And that means that this is a nice blade for me. But again, it's something that you can get accustomed to if you're not used to it. Whereas for most people, it'll probably be easier just out the gate to use the detail knife for most roughing in, even though it might not cut as scoopy and consistently easily maybe as this Pelican knife would. Neat tool. I'm surprised by that one. Then we've got this little mini Pelican, which as far as I'm concerned is for, I guess, miniature carvers. If you're trying to like choke up on the blade, you want a lot of control over the tip, you know, this could be useful. To me, I wouldn't really use this tool very often. It's a very niche tool though. Like if you had a really small little area you needed to get into and you couldn't get into it with this or these other blades, you know, you might be able to get in with this one. So again, something that I wouldn't probably use every day, but could be getting you out of a bind in theory. So as far as my total thoughts on all of these, yeah, to me, if you're looking to buy a set of knives with 4 blades, this is good because it offers you a nicer, more ergonomic handle. Only downside that I see to this is you're buying some blades that you probably won't use every day. You're probably going to pick 1 or 2 of these to really enjoy and use. Again, how are you going to figure out which ones you love most? You can just take my word for it and get the detail knife and just go simply that direction, or you can buy the kit and try it out and get a taste for each of them. So just up to you what you want to do. That said, I do like this new Premium Classics line. I hope they do offer the tools on an individual basis, not just a set, so that you can utilize maybe say just a detail knife with that more ergonomic handle, because I really particularly like this detail knife just for everything I mentioned. All right, that's all guys. I hope that you're well. Take your vitamins. God bless you guys, and we'll see you in the next video. All right, take care. Bye.